Sharon had been working at Meadowbrook Marketing for 3 years now. Every morning, she would arrive at 7:30 a.m., a full hour before anyone else. She loved the quiet time to organize her thoughts and prepare for the day ahead. Her desk was always neat, with her favorite coffee mug that read, "World's Best Employee," sitting next to a small plant her daughter had given her. The company specialized in helping small businesses grow their customer base. Sharon's job was to keep track of all the client relationships and make sure everyone stayed happy. It sounded simple, but it was actually very important work. If clients weren't happy, they would leave and the company would lose money. Sharon had spent the last 12 months creating something special. She had built a complete system that tracked every single client interaction. She knew which clients liked phone calls versus emails. She knew their birthdays, their favorite coffee orders, and even the names of their pets. This information helped the sales team connect with clients in a personal way, which made them want to stay with the company. Her supervisor, Derek Walsh, was a different kind of person. He was the type of man who wore expensive suits but never seemed to care about the people around him. Derek had been hired 6 months ago, and from day one he made it clear that he thought Sharon's work was old-fashioned and unnecessary. "We need to modernize," Derek would say during meetings. "All this personal touch stuff is just wasting time. We should be focusing on numbers, not birthday cards." But Sharon knew better. She had seen how happy clients became when someone remembered their daughter's graduation or asked about their vacation. These small gestures made huge differences in business relationships. The tension between Sharon and Derek had been building for weeks. He would make snide comments about her outdated methods during team meetings. He would roll his eyes when she suggested sending thank you notes to clients. Sharon tried to stay positive and professional, but it was getting harder each day. Last Friday, Derek had sent an email to the entire team saying that everyone needed to justify their value to the company. Sharon knew this was directed at her, but she wasn't worried. Her client retention rate was 94%, the highest in the company's history. On Monday morning, Sharon arrived at her usual time and began reviewing her client database. She had over 800 clients in her system, with detailed notes about each one. The information was organized perfectly with color-coded categories and easy-to-find contact details. Around 9 a.m., people started arriving for work. Sharon could hear Derek's voice getting louder as he walked through the office. He was talking to someone on his phone about cleaning house and getting rid of dead weight. At 10:30 a.m., Derek's assistant sent a message to everyone saying there would be an important meeting in the main conference room. Sharon's heart started beating faster. She had a bad feeling about this meeting. As everyone gathered in the conference room, Sharon noticed that Derek had a strange smile on his face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that meant trouble was coming. "Good morning, everyone," Derek began. "I've been reviewing our processes, and I found some serious problems with how we're handling client relationships." Sharon's phone buzzed with a text message, but she ignored it. She was focused on Derek's words. "Some people in this company think that keeping track of pet names and birthday parties is more important than actual business results," Derek continued, looking directly at Sharon. That's when Sharon's phone started ringing. Sharon quickly put her phone on silent and looked around the room. 23 of her colleagues were staring at Derek, waiting to hear what he had to say. Some looked nervous, others looked curious. Sharon felt her stomach turn into knots. "I want everyone to follow me to Sharon's desk," Derek announced. "I'm going to show you what I mean by outdated methods." The entire group walked out of the conference room like a parade. Sharon felt her face getting hot as everyone gathered around her workstation. Her neat desk suddenly felt like it was under a spotlight. People were whispering to each other, and Sharon could hear someone say, "What's going on?" Derek stood directly behind Sharon's chair and pointed at her computer screen. "Look at this," he said loudly. "Sharon has spent an entire year creating this collection of useless information. Pet names, favorite restaurants, family photos. This isn't a business database, it's a scrapbook. Sharon tried to speak up. Derek, this information has helped us keep clients happy. Our retention rate is 94%. Yes, I know, Derek interrupted. But that's just luck. Any monkey could keep clients happy by remembering their dog's name. What we need is real business intelligence, not this emotional garbage. The word garbage hit Sharon like a punch to the stomach. She had put her heart and soul into this work. She had stayed late countless nights, making sure every detail was perfect. She had even used her own money to send birthday cards to clients. This system is taking up valuable server space, Derek continued, and it's confusing our new employees. They think they need to be social workers instead of salespeople. Sharon's colleague, Maria, stepped forward. But Sharon's clients love her. They always ask for her specifically when they call. Derek waved his hand dismissively. That's exactly the problem. We don't want clients getting attached to individual employees. What happens when Sharon leaves? All that knowledge goes with her. We need systems that work for everyone, not just one person. Sharon felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She wouldn't give Derek the satisfaction of seeing her cry. I'm going to delete this entire database, Derek announced. And Sharon, you're going to start over with a proper system. One that focuses on sales numbers and profit margins, not birthday parties and pet stories. The room was dead silent. Sharon could hear the air conditioning humming and someone's stomach growling. Her phone buzzed again with another text message, but she was too shocked to look at it. Derek, please, Sharon said quietly. This represents a year of work. Can't we at least back it up first? Maybe combine it with a new system. Derek's smile got wider. Sharon, sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. This old system is holding us back. It's time to move into the future. Sharon watched in horror as Derek reached over her shoulder and moved her mouse to the delete button. Her entire life's work was about to disappear forever. Wait, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But Derek had already clicked the button. The screen went blank and a message appeared. Database permanently deleted. This action cannot be undone. Sharon's phone started ringing again, but this time it was louder and more urgent than before. Sharon stared at the blank screen in complete shock. A year of her life had just vanished in 1 second. All those late nights, all those careful notes, all those personal connections with clients. Gone forever. She felt like someone had just torn up every photo in her family album. The silence in the room was deafening. Some of her colleagues looked embarrassed, others looked angry. Maria shook her head in disbelief. Even Derek seemed surprised by how devastated Sharon looked. There, Derek said, clapping his hands together. Now we can start fresh with a modern approach. Sharon, I want you to begin building a new system today. Focus on sales data, profit margins, and conversion rates. No more personal information that doesn't directly relate to making money. Sharon's phone rang for the 3rd time. This time, she couldn't ignore it. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something told her she should answer it. Excuse me, she said weakly, picking up her phone. Hello. Is this Sharon Fairite? Asked a woman's voice on the other end. Yes, this is Sharon, she replied, turning away from the crowd around her desk. My name is Rebecca Chin, and I'm the Vice President of Client Relations at Silverstone Partners. I've been hearing incredible things about your work with client relationship management. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Sharon looked around at her colleagues, who were still standing around her desk like vultures. Derek was already walking away, probably thinking his job was done. I'm actually at work right now. Could I call you back? Actually, this is quite urgent, Rebecca said. We've been trying to find someone with your exact skills for months. One of your former clients, Mr. Patterson from Patterson's Hardware, recommended you specifically. He said you were the only person who truly understood his business needs. Sharon's heart skipped a beat. Mr. Patterson had been one of her favorite clients. He owned a small hardware store that had been in his family for 3 generations. Sharon had helped him through some tough times when big box stores were trying to steal his customers. "Mr. Patterson is lovely," Sharon said, her voice getting a little stronger. "How can I help you?" "We're looking for someone to head up our new client experience division," Rebecca explained. "We've got over 200 high-value clients who need the kind of personal attention that most companies just don't provide anymore. Based on what Mr. Patterson told us, you're exactly what we're looking for." Sharon felt her knees go weak. A new job opportunity, right now, right when she needed it most. But she couldn't get too excited. These things usually turned out to be too good to be true. "That sounds interesting," Sharon said carefully. "But I should mention that I'm currently employed and I don't have my portfolio with me today." Rebecca laughed. "Don't worry about a portfolio. Mr. Patterson told us everything we need to know. He said you increased his customer retention by 40% in just 6 months. He also mentioned that you remembered his wife's chemotherapy schedule and sent flowers to the hospital." Sharon smiled for the first time that day. She remembered Mrs. Patterson's treatment very well. Sharon had made sure to schedule all of Mr. Patterson's meetings around his wife's appointments, and she had even connected him with other business owners who had gone through similar situations. "Mr. Patterson is a special man," Sharon said. "His wife is doing much better now, by the way." "That's exactly what I mean," Rebecca said excitedly. "You don't just manage client relationships. You build real human connections. That's what our clients are looking for." Derek had returned to Sharon's desk area and was tapping his watch impatiently. "Sharon, personal calls need to happen on your lunch break," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Sharon covered the phone with her hand and looked at Derek. For the first time in months, she wasn't afraid of him. Something had shifted inside her. "I'm sorry. What were you saying about the position?" Sharon asked Rebecca, speaking a little louder than necessary. "We're prepared to offer you $500,000 a year, plus full benefits and a signing bonus," Rebecca said. "And we need someone to start as soon as possible." Sharon nearly dropped her phone. $500,000. That was more than 3 times what she was making at Meadowbrook Marketing. She looked around at her colleagues, who were pretending not to listen, but were obviously hanging on every word. Derek's face was starting to turn red. "Sharon, I need you to end this call immediately and get back to work on your new database." But Sharon had just heard something that changed everything. Rebecca was still talking, and what she said next made Sharon's heart race with excitement and something else, the sweet taste of revenge. "Oh, and Sharon," Rebecca continued, "we've been looking into acquiring some smaller marketing firms to expand our services. I believe your current company, Meadowbrook Marketing, might be on our list." Sharon felt like lightning had just struck her twice in the same spot. Not only was she being offered an amazing job, but her new company might actually buy Meadowbrook Marketing. The irony was so perfect, it almost seemed like a movie. "That's very interesting," Sharon said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Could you tell me more about that?" Derek was now standing directly in front of her, his face getting redder by the second. "Sharon, hang up that phone right now, or you'll be looking for a new job today." Sharon looked at Derek and smiled. For the first time in months, she felt powerful. "Actually, Derek, I think I might already have found one." The crowd around Sharon's desk was getting bigger. Word had spread through the office that something big was happening. People were pretending to work while secretly listening to every word. "We've been researching Meadowbrook for about 3 months," Rebecca explained. "They have a decent client base, but their retention rates are inconsistent. Most of their clients seem to be happy with the service, but there are some concerning reports about management issues." Sharon glanced at Derek, who was now pacing back and forth like a caged animal. "Management issues?" she asked innocently. Yes, we've heard that some employees are being treated poorly, and there's been some questionable decision-making at the supervisor level. We always investigate company culture before we make acquisitions. A toxic work environment can destroy client relationships very quickly. Derek stopped pacing and moved closer to Sharon. I'm not going to ask you again. End this call immediately, or you're fired. Sharon looked around at her colleagues. Some of them were nodding encouragingly, while others looked scared. Maria gave her a thumbs up. Even quiet Robert from accounting was smiling. Rebecca, can I ask you something? Sharon said into the phone. If your company did acquire Meadowbrook, what would happen to the current management structure? Derek's eyes went wide. He finally understood what was happening. Well, that would depend on our evaluation of the current leadership, Rebecca replied. If we found that certain managers were creating a hostile work environment or making poor decisions, we would definitely make changes. We believe in promoting from within when possible, especially people who have shown loyalty and dedication to client service. Sharon felt a warm feeling spreading through her chest. This was better than winning the lottery. Not only was she getting an amazing new job, but she might actually be able to help her colleagues who had been suffering under Derek's leadership. I'm very interested in this position, Sharon said. When would you like to schedule an interview? Actually, based on Mr. Patterson's recommendation and our research into your work, we're prepared to make you an offer right now, Rebecca said. But we would need you to start within 2 weeks. Would that be possible? 2 weeks. Sharon looked at Derek, who was now frantically whispering something to his assistant. She looked at her blank computer screen where her life's work used to be. She looked at her colleagues, who were all watching her with hopeful expressions. Yes, Sharon said firmly. 2 weeks would be perfect. Derek's assistant suddenly appeared at his side with a folder. She whispered something in his ear, and his face went completely white. He stared at Sharon like he was seeing a ghost. Sharon, Derek said in a shaky voice, maybe we should talk about this privately. But Sharon was already walking toward the conference room, still talking on her phone. Rebecca, I accept your offer. And I think I might have some very interesting information about Meadowbrook's management practices that could help with your acquisition research. As Sharon reached the conference room door, she heard Derek's assistant say something that made her heart sing with joy. Sir, I just got a call from the main office. Silverstone Partners has scheduled a meeting with our CEO tomorrow morning. They want to discuss a potential acquisition. Sharon turned around and looked at Derek one last time. His expensive suit suddenly didn't look so impressive anymore. His confident smile had been replaced with the expression of a man who had just realized he had made the biggest mistake of his career. Derek, Sharon said sweetly, I think we need to have a very different kind of conversation now. The conference room had never felt so quiet. Sharon sat across from Derek, who was nervously adjusting his tie every few seconds. His assistant had left them alone after delivering the news about Silverstone Partners' meeting with the CEO. Sharon, let's be reasonable here, Derek began, his voice much softer than it had been an hour ago. I think there might have been a misunderstanding about your database. Maybe we were a bit hasty in deleting it. Sharon leaned back in her chair and smiled. A misunderstanding? Derek, you stood in front of 23 people and called my work garbage. You deleted a year of my life without even asking. I don't think there was any misunderstanding at all. Derek's hands were shaking slightly as he reached for his water bottle. Look, I know I came on a bit strong. I've been under a lot of pressure from upper management to increase efficiency. Sometimes I get carried away. Carried away? Sharon repeated. Derek, you humiliated me in front of my colleagues. You destroyed my work. You made me feel worthless. That's not getting carried away, that's being cruel. Outside the conference room, Sharon could see her colleagues pretending to work while obviously trying to listen. The whole office was buzzing with excitement about what was happening. What do you want? Derek asked finally. Do you want me to apologize? Fine, I'm sorry. Do you want me to help you rebuild your database? I'll assign someone to help you. Do you want a raise? I can talk to HR about adjusting your salary. Sharon looked at Derek with amazement. An hour ago, he had been so confident, so mean, so sure of his power over her. Now he was practically begging. It was like watching a bully suddenly realize that the kid he was picking on had a big brother. Derek, do you know what the worst part of all this is? Sharon asked quietly. It's not that you deleted my work. It's not even that you embarrassed me in front of everyone. The worst part is that you never even tried to understand what I was doing. Derek looked confused. What do you mean? You called my client information useless, but you never bothered to ask why I collected it. You never asked how it helped our clients. You never asked why our retention rate was so high. You just assumed that because it was different from what you were used to, it must be wrong. Sharon stood up and walked to the window. She could see the parking lot where she had parked her car that morning, thinking it would be just another ordinary day. I remember when Mrs. Patterson was getting chemotherapy, Sharon continued. Her husband was so worried about her that he could barely focus on his business. Do you know what I did? I rearranged all of his meetings so he could drive her to treatments. I sent flowers to the hospital. I even connected him with other business owners who had gone through the same thing. Derek was listening now, really listening, for the first time since he had started working there. Mrs. Patterson sent me a thank you card when she finished treatment. She said that knowing someone cared about her family made the hardest time in her life a little bit easier. That's not garbage, Derek. That's being human. Sharon turned around and looked directly at Derek. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? Because you think business is just about numbers and profits. You don't understand that behind every client account is a real person with real problems and real feelings. Derek's phone buzzed with a text message. He looked at it, and his face went even paler. The CEO wants to see me in his office in 10 minutes, he said quietly. I know, Sharon replied. Rebecca from Silverstone Partners probably told him some very interesting things about your management style. Derek looked up at Sharon with desperation in his eyes. Sharon, please. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I can't lose this job. What do you want me to do? For a moment, Sharon almost felt sorry for him. Then she remembered standing at her desk, watching her life's work disappear while 23 people watched. She remembered the word garbage and the cruel smile on Derek's face. I want you to understand something, Sharon said firmly. This isn't about revenge. This is about consequences. You had a choice today. You could have been kind. You could have been respectful. You could have tried to understand my work before you destroyed it. But you chose to be cruel instead. Sharon walked toward the conference room door, then stopped and turned back to Derek one last time. You know what's really funny about all this, she said. If you had just been nice to me, if you had just treated me with respect, I probably would have helped you succeed. I would have shared my knowledge. I would have trained new employees. I would have been the best teammate you ever had. She opened the door and looked back at Derek, who was sitting alone at the conference table, staring at his hands. Instead, you chose to be a bully, and now you're going to learn that being kind isn't just the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do. As Sharon walked out of the conference room, she heard Derek's phone ring. She didn't need to look back to know it was probably the CEO, wondering why one of his best employees had just accepted a job with the company that was about to buy them out. Sharon sat down at her desk and looked at her blank computer screen one more time. Tomorrow, she would start fresh at Silverstone Partners. She would build new relationships with new clients. She would remember their pet names and their birthdays and their favorite coffee orders. But most importantly, she would remember this day. She would remember that kindness is powerful, that treating people with respect matters, and that sometimes the best revenge is simply being the better person. The phone at Derek's desk started ringing. Sharon smiled and began packing her personal belongings. She had a feeling that Derek was about to have a very interesting conversation with the CEO. And for the first time in months, Sharon felt truly happy.